My name is Amber Bryant, and this is my Experiencing the Other podcast. The group that I chose to observe were homosexual African American males. I chose the homosexual African American male group, specifically men between the ages of 18 and 30. What I was hoping to get out of this was a greater understanding of stereotypes that this other group may face, access barriers that are unknown to people outside of this group, discrimination faced by these men, as well as the counter narrative to the story that we often hear. So I started online looking at a group, a community center, the LGBT Community Center in Charlotte. And they have a very good comprehensive website offering a lot of valuable information for people who visit. And I went to the community center programs. And when I got to that website, I found a plethora of things that I could go and visit to gain access to my group. And I actually chose one of the events. Um, I, I wasn't able to go because of the snow day. The one that I did go to was this one here. And this one is called Powerhouse Project. And they have a pretty good website as well. If you go to their About Us tab, you will see that this organization provides a safe and comfortable place for members of the LGBT community to come, mostly African American Black men, and just have a non-judgmental space where they can socialize amongst themselves. Before I gained access to the group, I was worried about finding them, being welcome in the group, misconceptions they may have about me or I may have about them because of the ignorance, unknown prejudices that I may carry, as well as making sure that I was transparent the whole time that I was there. So, in order to do that, I developed 3 questions beforehand. The first one says, how would you describe your early school experiences? The second one, what are some difficulties you faced while in school related to your gender or sexual orientation? I really looked forward to the responses for the last question, which read, thinking back, if you could tell public school teachers anything, what would you say? So I took my questions to the Powerhouse Project. I was able to gain access through my informant. He was very willing and confident and comfortable with me, so I really appreciate him for that. When I walked in, the place was very comfortable, kind of like a home, not like your typical center. There was a section where they had literature. There was also other buildings and facilities where they held different events. And overall, it was pretty comfortable. While there, I got pretty lucky and was able to get answers to my first 2 questions. How would you describe your early school experiences? And what are some difficulties you face while in school related to your gender or sexual orientation?
And I'm of Caribbean descent, and in the Caribbean tradition, cultural tradition, homosexuality is not favored either. So from those perspectives, it was rough. So I do remember being called a faggot and a Banti man, which is a Caribbean phrase for which is likened to the word faggot.
That conversation quickly led us to one about masculinity and what that means in America, specifically for African American men, and even more specifically in historical context of African Americans. He provided insight that I've never had before.
So they got them good here, but not in the Caribbean. Yeah. In Bahamas and Jamaica, they all fought for their freedom, killed all of their captors, and ran them out of town.
And that's why it's black over there now.
So that's why it's all black, and there's a sense of black pride that exists in America, but not the way it does in the Caribbean. So part of that pride is not having anything to do with what is likened to our former captivity. And to them, homosexuality is that men watching the master rape their wives, and men and the wife having babies by the master that that black family now has to raise. Yeah. And the dad has to look at that child knowing that that's not his seed. Having his boys raped by the master. Having men emasculated and raped and sodomized by the master as a form of humiliating them. So they see homosexuality likened to all of that, when it's not.
It's not, no.
Not at all.
In her book, Mayo talks about a few things. She talks about binary gender norms. She talks about biases and expectations and challenges and tensions between racial and ethnic groups. One thing that she highlights that we did touch on during this interview was the role that religion played for the African American community and how that can further complicate issues with identity for a lot of homosexual African American men.
But if you think about a young man of color, for instance,
yes,
and he goes out and he has the threat of police brutality, he's wearing a hood or he got dreads, he's profiled in public, he gets pulled over by the police because he fits, so he's got all these other isms that he has to deal with. Yeah. The one thing that black folk and that individual has always been able to hold to is I have a God that loves me and abides with me. I got all these other pressures and barriers, but I have that. And just imagine when that individual feels like that is gone and you don't have nothing. And that then creates them having risky sex and engaging in other risky behaviors, drugs and alcoholism. Because if I don't think that I am loved and valued from a divine perspective, then why would I protect this vessel? Why would I? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
So I could be reckless because I'm of no value.
My biggest takeaway from this experience is there is no such thing as a counter-narrative. There are counter-narratives. There are as many stories as there are people, and knowing one doesn't mean knowing all. Their quick acceptance of me and my fears of rejection made me realize that I viewed them as another, and they viewed me as the same. While I saw differences in sexuality, they saw the shared human experience. Lastly, in order to gain a new perspective, you must be willing to be wrong. Not that you will be wrong, but you have to be open to the possibility that the way you understood something before may be changed. And as a result, you'll gain a new perspective and a richer understanding of the world.